Saturday morning, the Experts program kicks off on Power Talk Radio, and that means that our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, is with us once again as we open up things here on a Saturday morning. Luis, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mark. How are you today?
I'm very well, and it's the big car weekend here on the Monterey Peninsula. The Concours is tomorrow. The final day of the historic races is today at Laguna Seca. Tomorrow's Community Day at Laguna Seca. You know, they did something interesting a few years ago. They decided, and I think it was a really smart idea, to change the calendar for Laguna Seca's historic races, and instead of running them Thursday through Sunday like they do with the other race events that they have out there, they moved it to a Wednesday through Saturday schedule, recognizing that on Sundays everyone goes to Pebble Beach for the concours.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it made so much sense, and then they turned Sunday into what they call Community Day, which I believe is either free admission or reduced admission for members of the community to come out to Laguna Seca, and there's some demonstrations, what they're doing out there, and they've got a few cars and things on display, but it's really a fun event, and it's a way of saying thank you to the community for their support of the track.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a fun alternative for people that don't want to have to deal with the traffic and the massive humanity that seems to descend on Pebble Beach for concourse. You know, this is, especially with a nice day, it's going to be a good venue for that.
Right, very good point. And of course, today we have the Concours des Lemons on the lawn at City Hall in Seaside, and that's where cars that won't be on display at Pebble Beach tomorrow, that's where you're going to find them. Like if you've been pining for a 76 Pinto, you will probably see a couple of them on the lawn at City Hall in Seaside today.
Oh, yeah. It's a fun thing to visit. If you've never done it, I would highly recommend it. It's free, and like you said, there's some interesting cars that may take you back to your childhood.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of a car that you either drove when you were younger or maybe your family had that would qualify for the Concours des Lemons?
Yes, actually. I had, when I was stationed in Berlin, I had a VW station wagon.
Oh, no.
Yes, and it had been handed down from airman to airman. It's one of those traditions where the new guy would buy the car from the guy who's getting ready to go back to the States. And so this car had been around for a long time by the time I got to it. And it had rusted out floors, and it was a mess, but I love that car. We had a real good time going around Europe in that car. It lasted for a long time, even on the old Autobahn.
Wow, you took it on the Autobahn?
I did. I wasn't the fastest car up there, let me tell you.
Well, you probably stayed in the slow lane, right?
In the very slow lane, yes.
It reminds me of the time that I was in Europe and I drove a Renault Twingo all over Italy, and that was, when you get in the Autostrada in Italy, that's the equivalent of the Autobahn in Germany. It's the same thing. And that little Twingo was a tiny little car, and boy, you did not get into the fast lane in that one. You stayed in the putt-putt lane off to the right.
Those were fun days. But yeah, that car would be definitely qualified for the Concours des Lemons.
Hey, speaking of cars, we have a serious topic here, and that is Bluetooth could make your car a target for break-ins. And everybody has Bluetooth, right, on their phones, and it's hooked to their media center, their radio in their car. And this is kind of a scary thing. It's similar to the story that we did last year about people commandeering your key fob and using that to break into your car and steal it. But how serious is this Bluetooth issue, and what's going on with it?
Yeah, so what the bad guys are doing is they're using Bluetooth and Wi-Fi signals in two ways. First off, it gives them an idea of what's in your car, right? So if you leave your phone in your car, for example, or even your laptop, many laptops, when they are closed, they go into sleep mode, but that doesn't stop Bluetooth from working because it's still in trickle power. And so the bad guys can come up to the car with a scanner and figure out, oh, they have an iPhone in there and they have a laptop in there. So they break into those cars to steal those devices. And then they can also use the Bluetooth that is connected to your car's navigation system or your car's entertainment system to hack the doors and break into the car. These young kids that have grown up with technology and now have become young thieves really know how to use these tools that are available online. You can buy them, at the equivalent of online Radio Shack, where you can find all sorts of little devices that can help them break into your car. So you have to be really, really, really wary of what you leave behind in your car, and to make sure if you do that they're completely turned off.
So that means even your telephone, whether it's just a simple iPhone or a Galaxy or Android, you need to turn that thing off if you're leaving it in the car. Don't leave it on.
Yep, exactly. And if you can carry it with you, if you do leave it, turn it off.
Okay, and if you have a computer in the car, even if it's in the trunk, turn it off.
Exactly. Yeah. Make sure it's off and not just in sleep mode.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of times people, and we've all done this, you don't turn the computer off because you might be working on something. It's a hassle to wait for it to boot back up, and then you have to go back into the program and start it up and bring up the file that you were looking at or what have you. But it's just one of those kinds of things that the bad guys are always trying to stay one step ahead and figure out how they can rip you off, and this is the latest scam.
They're basically beacons that point to your car as something that is worth breaking into.
Now, what about like media centers in modern cars that have, some of them even have connectivity built into them? If you turn the car off, is that suspended? It's not working?
Theoretically, yes. In most cars, but not all, when you turn it off, it's completely turned off. But in some cases, in particular electric vehicles, EVs, they don't ever turn off completely because those cars are waiting for a signal. For example, my car, I can turn it on from my smartphone. There's an app that I have that lets me turn my car on. Theoretically, if I want to get it warmed up before I go into it in the morning, I can do that. But the only way that works is if the car is ready to receive a signal 7x24. Mm-hmm. So that means that it's constantly searching for a Wi-Fi signal or a satellite signal so that it can turn itself on. So just because you turn your car off doesn't mean that it's not emanating, and you need to understand what being turned off really means for your car.
And what about GPS locating systems? A lot of times you might put like a chip or something, one of these devices in your car, so if it's stolen, it'll be sending out a signal. Are they able to track those?
Oh, yeah. The bad guys aren't necessarily able to track those because those are encrypted, but they know where they're installed, and they're getting smarter about disabling those features whenever they break into a car. So, they'll know, hey, this is a Lexus or this is a Nissan or an Acura. I know where that little tracking device is located, and I'm going to go get it first and disable it so that they can't track the location of the car.
So they're going to have to find new places to put those.
Yep, exactly.
Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest today. Online, it's alvareztg.com. At AlvarezTG, that's the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.